Everything is good and we are live. Hello, everyone. Thank you for connecting today on our Sunday live stream focus on our Zavvy.co uh, template, right? So we are finally today with Mr. Daniyel Jones from the House of Angostura, the global brand ambassador for Angostura. Everybody knows about Angostura aromatic bitters, and some will know some of their delicious um, rums that they also have in their portfolio, which are several. Hold on just one moment. Some back feed. So today, like I was explaining earlier today on a quick live that I had, I always make a little quick live a couple hours before the actual stream podcast, just to go over a few things that we're going to be discussing today. So, but before we dive in, I just wanted to share with you um, the ones that are registered and are on the platform of Zavvy.co, that on the bottom you will see there is a part where it says ask questions. You can type up your questions there, and also on your right hand column, there is a space for you to make comments. You can just make comments, share with us where you're connecting from, which part of the world. And on, like I said again, the part on the bottom where it says ask questions, type up your questions. So then we can share them here live and with Daniyel. So those questions can be answered for you. Just take advantage of this opportunity for any questions that you have pertaining Angostura and so forth. Go right ahead. I'm going to be making a cocktail towards the end of the presentation.
Awesome.
So this is going to be my second live that I'm going to be making a cocktail. So little by little, I start adding things and checking things up a little. Just not to be doing the same thing, just
Yeah.
keeping things interesting.
Awesome.
But we always going to discuss history. History
Mhm.
is one of the main important parts of this platform, but also in the spirit, distilled spirits. I mean, there's history behind everything. Angostura is no exception. They have
Mhm.
history going way back in 1800s.
Yes.
It started in 1824,
Correct.
the
Correct.
bitters.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can imagine there's plenty of history there. I was reading up on it, and it's very interesting, and
Yeah.
how they have gone through so many parts of wars,
Yeah.
the pre-prohibition era. I
Uh,
mean, you name it,
yeah.
they've gone through it all, and
Yeah.
now we're all going through the pandemic. So it's interesting to see how a brand keeps growing, evolving against all odds, and
Hmm.
sometimes it's like being ahead of times that puts you in a better position to deal with whatever comes before you. So we're gonna go ahead and let Daniyel introduce himself and tell us a little bit about himself, his background,
Awesome.
and how he landed with Angostura. Welcome, Daniyel. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, Cynthia. It's an absolute pleasure. You've been doing an incredible job. I think since the pandemic came into effect and many of us were quarantined at home, we've been viewing a lot of these live streams and these platforms that have been serving a lot of educational, segments. And I have to say that I'm really impressed with the features that you've had, and it's very enjoyable because I love rum, I love cigars, and I think you bring a nice mix of entertainment and education. So thank you so much for having me on
Thank
today.
you. Thank you.
All
Thank
right.
you. I'm so glad.
um,
Thank you.
my name is Daniyel Jones, Global Brand Ambassador for the House of Angostura. I've been with the House of Angostura since 2013. That is when I won the Angostura Global Cocktail Challenge. Now, when you win the challenge, you get an ambassadorship for 1 year. And after the 1 year, they've kept me on board. I think they're very satisfied and happy with my work. So I'm happy for that. For me, I think I get the absolute honor of representing such an iconic brand. When you start as a bartender, there are a few principles that you start with. You start learning about the basic spirits, you start learning about the basic ingredients, the methods, techniques, jargon, and part of that is understanding Angostura aromatic bitters. We've been a part of that very foundation. When you talk about defining a cocktail was defined by someone we call Professor Jerry Thomas, and he defined a cocktail as any drink that contains spirit, water, sugar, and bitters. And I always ask people, what bitters do you think he was referring to at that time? And when you look at the timeline of bitters that have been around that old era within the 18th century, you find that we have been the pioneers to step out of elixirs, medicine that was made by the monks in many monasteries. We've been one of the pioneers that stepped away from just being medicine and going into the adaptation of cocktails. You had many like Abbott's, Sonat's. You had Jerry Thomas's very own signature style of bitters. We had Boca's bitters, Peychaud's, and then we have a bunch of new era bitters today. But I can tell you, as of 2019, which was last year, Angostura aromatic bitters is still the number one selling bitters and is still the number one bitters in the world. So we are very honored by that, And I think for me as a brand ambassador, one of the beauties of that for me is just knowing that there is such a respect for the craftsmanship. There's a trust that is given to Angostura. Anyone who picks up, any bartender that picks up a bottle of Angostura bitters, they don't wonder, is it going to do the same thing it did yesterday? They know it's going to deliver yesterday, today, and tomorrow. So that trust and respect that is given to Angostura, we continue to put that forward with anything that has the Angostura brand. And that is why today we have one of the largest range of award-winning rums. We've been producing and blending rums for over 160 years. And I have to say that we also have, it could be debated, but I can tell you confidently that we have the most expensive rum in the world, Legacy by Angostura. Only 20 bottles were made. It was all proceeds went to charity. It was an opportunity for the master distiller to just showcase his craftsmanship. So this is really part of it. And you said at the beginning, there's a lot of heritage. And I have to say that for me, that is one of the absolute truths that I walk with when I represent the brand. Because I get an opportunity to represent the brand from a different perspective, in addition to being a bartender. And that perspective is the fact that I grew up with the brand. In every house in the Caribbean, there is a bottle of Angostura bitters. It's like you go to the supermarket for rice, sugar, milk, and Angostura bitters. It's like it's a staple in the community. On a Sunday like today, we would have ice cream. And I'll be honest with you, I'm going to post it up. I'm going to send you a video. I'm going to post this up because today I did this, right? And we would have ice cream. And we'd have like rum and raisin ice cream. You'd have coconut ice cream or vanilla ice cream. And you take your Angostura bitters and you just add it as a kid on your ice cream. And it's just so delicious. And today of all days, I haven't done this personally in a long time. And today we got some rum and raisin ice cream. And I'm like, I haven't had rum and raisin ice cream in a long time. And I'm like, I know the way to do this. So, all these little parts of growing up with it, I've been able to express that in the bartending community. Like I said, we've been a part of the foundation of the cocktail industry, defining a cocktail, and we continue to be a part of the evolution. You look at the best bartenders in the world, you look at the best bars in the world, they all have Angostura aromatic bitters inside their bars. The most expensive cocktail in the world, one was created in 2013 by Salvatore Calabrese at the Playboy Bar in London. And it's the oldest cocktail in the world also. And it contains a 19th century Angostura aromatic bitters. And later that year, a bartender in a bar called the Winston created an even more expensive cocktail. Now, Salvatore's cocktail cost around 6,000 euros. I know. And the other guy's cocktail at the Winston, the other bartender, his cocktail takes 2 days to create and costs a whopping 9,000 euros. And it contains Angostura aromatic bitters in it. Now, again, wow. I don't know who's going to call up and say, hey, guy, hey, buddy, I need like 4 of these because, I'm coming to the bar with Cynthia. So I don't know, if that's going to happen that often. But I know that part of creating such an incredible cocktail has a lot of thought in it, and they need the right ingredients. And to be a part of that showcases that Angostura has been a part of the foundation, and we continue to be a part of the evolution of many signature cocktails. So not just the classic cocktails like the old fashioned, the Manhattan, the Martinez, the champagne cocktail that Marilyn Monroe loves. We've been a part of those very classic cocktails that stand today. And old fashioned is a classic favorite today. And we continue to be a part of many signature brands today. So, I get an opportunity to really showcase that vibrancy of the island. And when you talk about rum, when you say rum to a bartender, it's a category of spirit like vodka, tequila, whiskey. When you say rum to someone from the island like myself, it's the language we speak on the island. You know it. You're from Puerto Rico. You know that language that we speak that not only people on the island can understand. So when we drink, there's a way we drink. When we speak about rum, there's a way we speak about it. And there is the dark side and there is the good side. And I will be honest with you, from the Caribbean, we always like to focus on the good side. So when the sun is shining, we say, okay, it's a beautiful day. When the rain is falling, we say it's showers of blessings. So, so it's always going to be that vibe. And when I get to share, and educate on Angostura, I always like to let people know a big part of it is the production. We can go through the production and you will be so impressed. You will be blown away to know the level of craftsmanship that goes into such a brand of rums. But what I love most is the fact that all of these rums that we have in our portfolio, they all carry an independent story. They carry a heritage behind them. Like I see right now, you have the Angostura 7-year-old, right?
Yes.
And I'll be honest with you, I'm having the Angostura 7 comes from the rum range called the Caribbean rums. And it starts with the Reserva, which is a white rum, aged for 3 years, charcoal filtered, and then it stays in the barrel for 2 years longer, and we have the Angostura 5-year-old. All right, and this is what I'm having today. You have the 7.
Yes.
Right now, I know you're going to make a cocktail later, but I have to let you know that I'm having a rum highball. When you talk about a whiskey highball, just soda and whiskey, because the whiskey is so good, you just want to have it's very popular in the Japanese culture, where you just have a whiskey highball. And I'm having the 5-year-old with some sparkling water, some Perrier, and I have 2 big boy dashes of Angostura aromatic bitters. Simple. And I'm pairing that actually with, while I'm talking with you, I'm pairing that with a cigar that I smoke in my pipe. I have a Partidus Robusto number 4. So the Robusto number 4 fits within this pipe here. So, if you excuse me, you're going to see me drinking and smoking. I'm enjoying the sunlight and I'm sharing the vibration with you.
That's amazing. Now that you mentioned about your pipe, we had conversations prior to this video, this live that we're having, and you shared with me how you use your pipe, and you actually use your own cigar, cigar, and you use portions of that cigar, you put it into the pipe, and you smoke your cigar that way using the pipe for practical reasons.
Yes, I will be honest with you. I love now, to all cigar aficionados, forgive me, please. I think what I love about it, I love cigars, and when you say rum and cigars, it's beautiful. That's a pairing you want to enjoy. So whenever I travel and I have a nice torpedo, or it's like I can't finish the entire cigar with everyone around me if they're not smoking cigars. So when I travel, I started using pipes, and I like the natural feel of cigars, knowing that the tobacco leaves are so pure, and I love that feel. So I wanted to kind of incorporate both worlds. So what I do whenever some of my cigars were bad and I couldn't, I didn't want to throw them away. I didn't know what to do with them. So I said, what if I can put it into the pipe? And that's when I started exploring that. So I used the bad cigars, but now I got a pipe that can fit some good cigars. So whenever I can't smoke a full cigar, like today, I'm not able to just sit back and enjoy a full torpedo or Robusto. I'm just going to have a part of that. So this conversation, we're talking about rum, and I love cigars. So I'm going to put it in my pipe, and I just love it. It's a nice feel. Now you do miss the last wrapper on the cigar, which has a lot of flavor on the cigars. But I will say it's if you have a good cigar, you're still gonna get enough.
Yes, it's
Mm,
amazing. And,
mm.
how clever we can all get based on experience, something that we're going through, and to fit our own personal needs. So
Yeah.
that's amazing. That's awesome. So
Okay.
everyone out there can identify with Daniel there. Now you know. Go ahead, buy yourself a pipe, and now you know you're not gonna have to waste any portion of
Yeah.
your cigar if you do it
Yeah.
that way.
Yeah.
So give it a try. Let Daniel know how it was or worked for you. That's
All right. So
amazing.
so the rum pairs really well with the cigars. And
Yeah.
what I love on the portfolio of Angostura's rums, the rums carry a different identity. Sometimes you think, oh, if I taste one rum, I've tasted all. I'll be honest with you, no. Each of the rums carry an independent personality. And if I'm to break it down for you, I will say a large factor of that is the fact that we have what is called the number one carnival in the world. Now, I know Puerto Rico, the vibe is nice. I've not been there as yet, but I know I've seen it. I've heard enough. I know the energy is there. The music, the vibration. I love it. And it's very similar to what I'm saying right now because on the island, we have our own genre of music called soca music. It's like a Caribbean version of reggaeton. It's like, it's very pulsating. We dance very similar to bachata, but so it's very sensual like bachata, but it's to the soca music and it's a bit different. And so on the carnival, the girls are dressed in gem-studded bikinis. The guys are looking like gladiators going to war. You have your cups filled with rum and fresh coconut water, and you're feeling the warmth of the sun, and you're hearing the music just going. Toot, 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 toot. And it's like the vibe is just so nice, and you're feeling all sexy, and I'll be honest with you, it's very liberating because these are the streets that you normally drive, and here you are just walking in a gem-studded bikini or have and you're walking the streets all liberal, and it's a really intimate but yet a cultural experience. So you have the music, you have this diaspora of different cultures, and that has changed the cuisine a lot. So our food is different, so you don't get authentic Indian cuisine or authentic African cuisine or authentic Chinese. It's all mixed with the Caribbean ingredients. So this is why the rums represent a different range of profiles. So the rum that you have there and the rum that I'm drinking is from the same blend. It's called the Caribbean rums. And I'm sharing a bit about the rums first, as this is all about rums, Caribbean rums. I want to make sure we touch on the rums a bit, and I'm going to go back to the bitters in a short while. So with the rums, and I'll show you something that I just absolutely love. So, like I said, we can talk about production, and I'm going to give you a summarized version of production here. There are a few main factors that distinguish our rums. The rums are made from molasses. We get the best quality of molasses. And for those who don't know what molasses is, it's the byproduct of making sugar. Sorry. So you get the sugarcane juice, you squeeze it out of the sugarcane stalks, you boil it on an extreme heat, it crystallizes, and then there's a residue that remains. And it's very smoky. It's very thick and smoky and tasty. I remember as a kid, my mom would make something called tulum. You take the molasses, the thick, gooey, smoky, sweet molasses. You combine that with brown sugar, with dried coconut husk, the white coconut meat,
Okay.
ginger, cinnamon, and you leave it in a pot and you stir it up. You add some orange zest to that. And when it cools down, you put it into a bowl and put it in the fridge. And I mean, we would run home as kids just to get that. And that taste, every time I walk into the Angostura distillery and I get the scent of the rum, I'm always taken back to my childhood. It's that beautiful feel. So the rums carry that independent feel. You have the molasses, and another factor is the terroir. So our terroir is incredible. So Trinidad and Tobago is 10 degrees above the equator, which means that the sun is incredibly hot. And what that does is that the fruits and the vegetables are very intense. So we can use our celery sticks to match it with buffalo wings. We use it to season meats. And because of that, we cultivate our very own yeast. Now, I want you to understand how significant that is. By growing our very own yeast, we're able to maintain the consistency of our rums. And that's another factor there. Another factor is that we have one of the best cooperages in the Caribbean. You know, when you talk about, you can ask anyone who knows about rums, who love rums, and are familiar with the cooperages in the Caribbean. The House of Angostura, we're proud to say that we have one of the best cooperages in the world. And you know, it's the guys there have been there for so long. We use very authentic methods of cooperage, and it's magnificent when you see it, because the barrels play a very integral role within the production of the rums. So the barrels we use are also secondhand bourbon barrels. When we get the barrels, we don't rechar the barrels, we steam the barrels.